So hey anime fans. The series name is What If Naruto Got Harem with Pokemon? So let's start the series. The Howling Woods of Fate. The last thing Naruto Uzumaki remembered was a blinding light, a clash of godlike powers, Sasuke's grimace, the fabric of reality tearing at the seams of their final, exhausted Rasen Ganchidori clash. Then, not darkness, but a dissolving sensation, as if his very chakra was being unspun. He awoke to the smell of damp earth and the sound of unfamiliar birdsong. His body ached, a deep, marrow-level exhaustion that spoke of chakra depletion worse than any he'd experienced since his early genin days. He forced his eyes open. A canopy of massive, broad leaves filtered sunlight in dappled green and gold. He was in a forest, but not like any in the Land of Fire. The trees were taller, stranger, their barks swirling with colors he'd never seen. The air hummed with a different energy, not chakra, but something wilder. More vibrant, yet untamed. Pushing himself up, he winced. His orange and black jacket was torn, his forehead protector scratched. Kurama's presence in his mind was a dormant ember, silent and distant, as if the fox was in a deep, healing slumber. Where am I? No answer came from the forest. He was utterly alone. A profound, familiar loneliness, one he hadn't felt since his childhood in Konoha, settled over him. But he was Naruto Uzumaki. He didn't succumb to loneliness, he fought it. His shinobi instincts kicked in. First, survival. He assessed his resources, a few kunai, some shuriken, a half-roll of bandages, and his own depleted body. Water. He needed water. He focused, pushing past the exhaustion to draw a tiny trickle of chakra to his feet, climbing one of the massive trees with less grace than usual. From the high branch, the world unfolded. The forest stretched for miles, a sea of green broken by a distant, sparkling ribbon of a river. Beyond, far to the east, he saw the geometric shapes of human settlement, a town. And in the other direction, mountains that clawed at a sky where strange, winged shapes soared. He dropped down, landing softly. As he moved toward the sound of the river, the forest came alive in ways that unsettled him. A small, round creature with large eyes and leaves on its head watched him from a bush before scurrying away in a blur of green. A flash of yellow sparked in the undergrowth, followed by a cheerful "Pie-ka-pie!" A flock of blue, bird-like creatures with sharp, metallic cries swooped overhead. They weren't summon animals. They felt sentient, alive with their own energy. He reached the river, crystal clear and cold. As he cupped water to drink, he saw a reflection. His own blue eyes, wide with confusion, stared back. But in the water behind him, another pair of eyes appeared. Red, slitted, and hostile. Naruto spun, kunai in hand. It stood on 4 legs, a creature of vivid orange and cream fur, a mane of red and gold flames flickering from its neck. It was smaller than a wolf, but its posture was pure predator, lowered head, haunches coiled, a low growl rumbling in its chest. A tufted tail swished, the tip alight with the same mysterious fire. "Grow lithe!" It snarled. A Pokemon. The word surfaced in his mind from nowhere, a fragment of knowledge from the dimensional shift. This was a creature of this world. And it saw him as a threat. "I don't want to fight," Naruto said, keeping his voice calm, his free hand open and placating. He could feel its energy, a hot, flickering aura that wasn't chakra, but something adjacent. It felt like anger and a fierce protectiveness. The Growlithe didn't care for his words. It lunged, jaws snapping where his ankle had been as he backflipped. It was fast, but predictable. A shinobi's speed, even depleted, was beyond it. But as he dodged a second lunge, the creature skidded, turned its head, and exhaled. A stream of fire, small but intensely hot, shot toward him. Naruto's eyes widened. Fire release? Without hand signs? He formed a single cross seal. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu! A single, wobbly shadow clone popped into existence beside him. The fire struck it, dispelling it in a puff of smoke and giving Naruto the moment to dive behind a rock. The clone's memories returned, a sensation of searing heat. This creature's fire was real. He couldn't keep dodging. His chakra was nearly gone. He had to end this, or escape. But something in the Growlithe's eyes stopped him from throwing a lethal kunai. It wasn't malice. It was duty. It was guarding something. Following its line of sight, Naruto saw, tucked beneath the roots of a great tree, a small den. Inside, whimpering softly, were 2 smaller, fluffier versions of the Growlithe. Puppies? Kits? They looked weak, sickly. The mother-father? Growlithe stood between him and the den, flames burning brighter, its growl desperate. It was starving. He could see its ribs. It was gathering every last bit of its energy to protect its young from a stranger. Naruto's heart clenched. This wasn't a monster. This was a parent. Slowly, he sheathed his kunai. He reached into his pouch, pulling out his last ration bar, a dense, nutrient-packed thing from Konoha. He broke off a piece and tossed it gently, not toward the Growlithe, but to the side. The Growlithe flinched, then sniffed the air. Hunger warred with caution. It kept its eyes on Naruto as it darted forward, snatched the morsel, and gulped it down. Its flames dimmed slightly, a flicker of confusion in its red eyes. "I'm not your enemy," Naruto said softly, pouring every ounce of his earnestness into his voice, the same way he'd once talked to Gaara, to Zabuza, to Pain. He pointed to the den, then to himself, and made a soothing gesture. "Your kids, they need help. Let me help." He didn't know if it understood his words, but he knew it could sense intent. He'd spent a lifetime learning to sense hatred. Now, he willed his chakra, thin as it was, to radiate nothing but concern and a stubborn, unwavering will to help. For a long minute, they stood in stalemate. Then, with a soft whine, the Growlithe's flames guttered out. It didn't stand down, but it stopped its attack, watching him with exhausted, wary eyes. Naruto moved slowly to the river, filling his empty water canteen. He then approached the den, every step measured. The Growlithe tensed but didn't stop him. Inside, the two pups were listless, dehydrated. Gently, he coaxed them to drink a few drops of water. They nuzzled his hand, their tiny tongues rough. He turned to the parent. "You need food. Real food. Stay here. Protect them. I'll be back." He spent the next few hours in a grueling test of his survival skills in an alien world. He found berry bushes, but didn't know which were safe. He finally managed to catch a few large, slow-moving fish from the river using sharpened sticks, a skill from one of Jiraiya's more ridiculous training excursions. He built a small fire, with flint and steel, not chakra, and cooked the fish. The smell brought the adult Growlithe closer. Naruto offered it the largest fish. It devoured it, then looked at him, its gaze now holding a complex mix of gratitude, shame, and lingering pride. He fed the pups mashed fish and berry pulp. As the sun set, color returned to their fur, and they let out happy, tiny growl sounds, stumbling over to play with the tassels on his pants. The adult Growlithe watched its children play, then walked up to Naruto. It didn't nuzzle him. It simply sat beside him, its body warm against his leg, sharing its natural fire's heat in the cooling evening. Naruto looked at the creature, then at the recovering pups, and at the strange, starlit sky above. The loneliness was still there, a vast emptiness where Konoha, Sakura, Kakashi-sensei, and everyone else had been. But beside him, a new bond, forged in desperation and compassion, had taken root. He placed a hand on the Growlithe's warm mane. "I don't know where I am," he whispered to the night. "I don't know how to get back. But I'm Naruto Uzumaki. I never go back on my word. I'll protect you and your family. That's my Nindo, my trainer's way." The word trainer felt foreign on his tongue. But as the Growlithe leaned into his touch, letting out a soft, rumbling sound of contentment, it also felt right. This was not a world of shinobi and villages. It was a world of creatures and bonds. And if this was his new battlefield, he would fight for these bonds with everything he had. In the distance, a majestic, haunting cry echoed through the mountains, a sound of immense power and profound solitude. The Growlithe's ears perked up, a low whine in its throat. Naruto felt it too, a ripple in the wild energy of the world. Something ancient and powerful was out there. But for tonight, he had a pack to care for. The journey of the shinobi in the world of Pokemon had begun, not with a bang, but with the quiet, shared warmth of a fire and a promise. The path to becoming a legend would be long, paved with struggle and heartache, but it started here, on the banks of an unknown river, with a single, unwavering act of understanding. Chapter 2: The Town of First Impressions. The next week was a crash course in a new world's brutal kindness. Naruto named the adult Growlithe Kun Blaze. It was a name that fit its spirit, and to his surprise, the creature seemed to recognize it after only a few repetitions. The pups, a male and a female, he called Tsubasa, Wing, and Chia, Wisdom, for the reckless way the male tumbled after imaginary foes and the watchful, clever eyes of the female. They were not pets. They were a responsibility, a fragile family unit he had inserted himself into as protector and provider. His chakra slowly replenished, but Kurama remained silent, a dormant sun in his gut. He focused on the physical. He hunted, fished, and foraged, learning the local flora and fauna through trial and error, a process that involved one spectacular case of hives from a pink, heart-shaped berry. He trained his body in the dawn light, running through katas tree walking, which worked, but felt different with the world's ambient energy, and practicing his taijutsu against makeshift logs. Kun watched him train. At first, with suspicion, then with intense curiosity. Naruto began to mimic the creature's movements, its low, powerful lunges, the way it used its entire body to pivot for its fiery bites. In turn, when Naruto practiced his sparring, Kun would sometimes mimic his footwork, clumsy at first, then with startling agility. They were learning from each other. One evening, as Naruto channeled a tiny stream of chakra to his palm, forming a minute, unstable Rasengan that whirred softly and shredded a leaf, Kun watched, transfixed. The Growlithe then opened its own mouth, and with a grunt of effort, a sphere of orange energy, crackling and unrefined, sputtered into existence between its jaws before popping harmlessly. Naruto stared. You tried to copy my Rasengan? He laughed, a real, open sound that startled the forest. Kun huffed, looking almost embarrassed. The concept was earth-shattering. These Pokémon could learn. Not just moves, but concepts. They could observe and innovate. This was a partnership, not ownership. But the pups, though healthier, were not thriving. They needed more than fish and berries. They needed medicine, proper shelter from the coming rains he could smell on the wind, and knowledge. He needed to know where he was. The distant town was his only answer. We're going, he told Kun, packing his meager supplies. It might be dangerous. People might not understand us. He gestured to himself, a shinobi in torn, foreign clothing, and to the Growlithe, a wild Pokémon. Kun met his gaze and gave a single, firm bark. We face it together. The journey to the town took a day. As they neared the cultivated fields on its outskirts, Naruto saw people. They dressed in bright, simple clothes. He saw a man in overalls directing a creature with a flower on its back to till soil with vines. He saw a woman with a small, floating, bell-like creature carrying parcels. Pokémon and humans, working side by side. A fragile hope bloomed in his chest. That hope was dashed the moment he walked through the town's archway. The place was called Verdanturf, according to a sign. It was quaint, with cozy houses and a bustling marketplace. The stares were immediate and hostile. People recoiled. Children were pulled indoors. A man dropped his basket of apples. Hey! You! Wild boy! A gruff voice called. A large man with a thick mustache, wearing a uniform with a badge depicting a poke ball, marched over. He had a squat, blue, turtle-like Pokémon with a water cannon on its back at his heels, a Squirtle, Naruto's new knowledge supplied. It looked official. Authoritative. What do you think you're doing, walking into a civilized town with a wild Growlithe unleashed? The man, obviously some kind of guard, demanded. Leash it or recall it immediately. Leash? Recall? Naruto echoed, confused. Kun growled softly, positioning himself slightly in front of the pups. Don't play dumb! Your poke ball. Get it back in its ball. Naruto had seen no such balls. He's not in a ball. He's with me. We're partners. The crowd that had gathered snorted and muttered. Partners? Looks like a stray he caught in the woods. One woman sneered. That Growlithe looks thin. Probably neglecting it. Another man added. And those pups? Are you breeding them illegally? The guard accused, his hand going to a device on his belt. A white-hot rage, familiar and cold, flashed through Naruto. They saw Kun as a thing. A possession. They saw him as a feral creature. The loneliness twisted into something darker. I've been protecting them. Feeding them. He's not my pet, he's my friend. Your friend is a danger to public safety. The guard stated flatly. Either demonstrate control by recalling it, or I will be forced to detain the Pokémon for public endangerment. Trainer's license. Now. Naruto had no license. He had nothing. He was an undocumented, armed stranger with a wild animal. In the eyes of this world, he was a threat. His shinobi mind calculated the odds, 1 guard, 1 Squirtle, a crowd of civilians. He could evade, maybe even disable them. But then what? He'd be an outlaw. He couldn't protect his new family from a whole world that viewed them this way. His fists clenched. Kun's flames ignited, a warning. The Squirtle tensed, its cannon swiveling. Officer Keith, wait! A new voice, calm and melodic, cut through the tension. A woman pushed through the crowd. She was young, with kind green eyes and chestnut hair tied in a practical ponytail. She wore a simple apron over a dress, smelling of flower and herbs. She didn't look at Naruto with fear or disdain, but with clinical concern, her gaze sweeping over him, then over the Growlithe family. Maya, the guard Keith sighed. This isn't a Pokémon Center matter. This is a public safety issue. It's all connected, and you know it, Maya said, her voice firm. She knelt, ignoring the guard's protest, and looked at Kun. She didn't reach out. She just observed. This Growlithe is undernourished but alert. Protective. The pups are recovering from illness. They're not aggressive, they're scared. She then looked at Naruto, her eyes taking in his torn clothes, his worn-out posture, the deep, unchildlike resolve in his blue eyes. And you're not from around here. Are you? No, Naruto said, the word heavy with the weight of worlds. Do you have anywhere to go? Any family? He thought of Konoha, a universe away. No. Maya stood, facing Officer Keith. He's a lost child with a Pokemon he clearly cares for. Detaining them helps no one. Release them into my custody. The Pokemon Center has quarantine and observation pens. I'll vouch for them. You'll be responsible for any damage, Keith grumbled, but he was clearly relenting. Maya had a quiet authority. Understood. Maya turned to Naruto. My name is Maya. I run the Verdanturf Pokemon Center and Aid Shelter. Come with me. No one will hurt you or your Pokemon there. You have my word. Her words reminded him of Irika, of Tsunade. A lifeline in a hostile sea. He looked at Kun. The Growlithe, sensing the shift, let his flames die down, though his watchful eyes never left the officer. Naruto gave a slow, single nod. Okay. The Pokemon Center was a haven. It was clean, bright, and filled with the soft sounds of recovering Pokemon. Nurse Joy, Maya, was not just a caregiver but a diagnostician, using machines Naruto couldn't comprehend to check Kun and the pups. She gave them nutrient-rich food, treated the pups' lingering weakness, and provided Naruto with clean, simple clothes. In a quiet room, over bowls of stew, she listened as Naruto spun a half-truth. He was from a faraway, isolated place. He knew nothing of Pokeballs, trainer licenses, or gyms. He'd found the Growlithe family in trouble and helped them. It was the truth, just not all of it. Maya listened patiently. You have a natural empathy, Naruto. I can see it in how they look at you. Kun trusts you implicitly. That's rare and valuable. Her expression turned serious. But this world has rules. Pokemon are powerful. Without a trainer ID and licensed Pokemon, you are, legally, no different from a poacher or a rogue. You can't travel, you can't battle, you can't even buy proper supplies. What do I do? He asked, the enormity of his task crashing down. First, we get you registered. I can sponsor you as a new trainer. It will involve a basic competency test with the local gym leader, not a full battle, just a demonstration of control and bond. She paused. The gym leader here in Verdanturf is Brawly. He uses fighting-type Pokemon. He believes in direct, overwhelming strength. He may not understand your approach. Naruto's eyes hardened. I'll make him understand. The next few days were a whirlwind. Maya provided him with a Pokédex, a device that astonished him with its knowledge. He learned the names of the creatures he'd seen. The leafy one was a Shrimish, the yellow electric mouse a Pikachu, the blue birds were Tailo. He learned about types, moves, abilities, a complex, elemental rock-paper-scissors that governed this world's combat. He refused the standard-issue Pokeballs Maya offered. He's not something to be captured. He's already with me. Maya, after a long look, nodded. It's unorthodox, but I'll note it in your file. The partnership clause. It's rarely used. He trained with Kun in the center's backfield. Now well-fed, Kun's power blossomed. His ember attacks were stronger, his speed incredible. Naruto trained alongside him, running sprints, practicing evasion. He began to experiment. Channeling a whisper of wind nature chakra to his hand, he guided Kun's ember, shaping the flames into a tighter, spiraling stream. It wasn't a Rasengan, but it was a fusion, flame spiral. It drilled into a training log with intense focus, leaving a smoldering, spiral-patterned burn. Kun was exhilarated. Naruto was stunned. Their energies could synergize. The day of the assessment arrived. It was held in Verdanturf's small, sandy-floored gym, more a fighting ring than a formal arena. Brawly was a young man with a relaxed posture that belied the sharp intensity in his eyes. He had a Makuhita, a thick-bodied fighting type, standing stoically beside him. So, you're Maya's stray, Brawly said, his voice friendly but his gaze assessing. She says you've got a strong bond. Bonds are good. But in a real battle, it's power and discipline that win. Let's see what you've got. Show me your control. Have your Growlithe demonstrate a move on that target. He pointed to a wooden post. Kun! Use Flame Spiral! Kun unleashed the move they'd practiced. The spiraling jet of fire shot forth, striking the post dead center, boring into it before erupting in a small burst. It was precise, powerful, and clearly a cut above a standard ember. Brawly's eyebrows rose. Huh. Not bad. Enhanced move. Good control. He scratched his chin. Okay. Control test passed. But a trainer needs to command in battle. Let's do a simple one-on-one. No holds barred. My Makuhita against your Growlithe. We fight until one side can't continue or yields. This is how we measure a trainer's mettle here. Naruto felt a chill. This wasn't a demonstration. This was a real fight. He looked at Kun. The Growlithe's eyes burned with eager determination. He wanted to prove their strength. Naruto nodded. All right. We accept. Begin. Brawly called, his relaxed air vanishing. Makahita, arm thrust! The Makahita waddled forward with deceptive speed, its open palm thrusting out in a blur. Dodge and use flame spiral! Naruto commanded. Kun leaped aside, the thrust grazing his flank, and fired his spiral flame. It struck Makahita's shoulder. The fighting type grunted, skidding back, but the damage was minimal. It was resistant to fire. It's tough! Don't let it get close! Naruto yelled. Vital throw! Brawly commanded. Makahita lunged, its movements suddenly fluid. It grabbed Kun by the mane as he tried to dodge, using his own momentum to hoist him up and slam him hard into the sandy ground. Thud. The air left Kun's lungs in a pained yelp. Naruto felt the impact in his own soul. Kun! Get up! Kun staggered up, shaking sand from his fur, his flame sputtering. He was hurt. Anger surged in Naruto. This wasn't a test of bond, it was a display of domination. Finish it! Focus punch! Brawly ordered. Makahita clenched its fist, energy gathering around it. It was a slow, telegraphed move, but it would be devastating if it landed. Now! Use double team! Naruto shouted, drawing on his own signature technique. Kun glowed faintly for a second, a pale imitation of shadow clones, but it worked. 3 illusory copies of Kun split off, confusing the Makahita. Its focus punch wavered, unsure of the real target. Flame spiral, full power, on its legs! Naruto commanded, not from a place of strategy, but from a shinobi's instinct to cripple the opponent's mobility. The real Kun unleashed his spiral fire at Makahita's feet. The superheated attack seared the tough hide, causing the Pokemon to bellow in pain and stumble, its punch dissipating. Good! Now close in! Bite! Naruto pressed, seeing an opening. But Brawly smirked. Predictable. Reversal. As Kun lunged for the bite, the injured Makahita glowed red. It channeled all its pain into a single, devastating upward thrust that caught Kun squarely under the jaw. The crack was audible. Kun was flung backward, landing in a heap, unmoving. Koen! Naruto was at his side in an instant, ignoring the match rules. The Growlithe was breathing, but shallowly. His jaw was likely fractured. Brawly recalled his Makahita, which was also panting, its legs burned. The bond is there. The creativity, too. That double-team variant was interesting. His voice was not unkind, but it was clinical. But your strategy was emotional. Reckless. You saw an opening and charged right in. In this world, that gets your Pokemon killed. You have heart, kid. But heart isn't enough. You failed the assessment. Naruto didn't hear him. He was cradling Kun's head, his own chakra, thin and healing, seeping into the Pokemon, trying to stem the pain, to stabilize him. He looked up at Brawly, his eyes not filled with tears of defeat, but with a blazing, unadulterated fury. You call this a test? Naruto's voice was low, vibrating with rage. You hurt him like this, for a license? It's the reality of being a trainer, Brawly said, his face stern. Pokemon battle. They get hurt. If you can't handle that, you shouldn't be on the field. Maya rushed in with a stretcher. She gave Brawly a look of profound disappointment before focusing on Kun. As they carried his friend away to the center's intensive care, Naruto stood alone in the sandy ring, the taste of humiliation and ash in his mouth. He had failed. His first official encounter with this world's power structure had left his partner broken and himself branded as unworthy. He looked at his hands. In one world, he was a Hokage, a hero, a legend. In this one, he was a failed applicant, a stray with a wounded friend. The fire in his gut, Kurama's dormant presence, gave a single, almost imperceptible pulse. A whisper of ancient, predatory wrath. Naruto clenched his fists, his nails digging into his palms. This world's way was flawed. He saw it now. He would get his license, he would learn their rules, but he would not accept their philosophy. He would become strong, not to dominate but to protect. Not to win badges, but to prove a point. He would become a trainer, but he would do it his way. The shinobi way. The way of bonds forged in shared pain, not in sterile, brutal arenas. He walked out of the gym, not with a slumped back, but with a spine of steel. The path to legend was not paved with easy victories. It was forged in the fires of failure. And Naruto Uzumaki had never been afraid of fire. Chapter 3: The Forge of Will. The sterile smell of antiseptic and the soft, rhythmic beeping of monitors filled the room. Kun lay on a padded bed, his jaw encased in a light, polymer cast, a tube feeding nutrients and pain medication into his leg. His eyes were closed, but the rise and fall of his chest was steady. Tsubasa and Chie slept curled together in a nearby pen, unaware of the gravity of their parents' injury. Naruto sat on the floor beside Kun's bed, his back against the wall. He hadn't moved for hours. Maya had tried to talk to him, to reassure him that Kun would recover fully with time and rest, but her words were distant echoes. The only sound that registered was the weak, pained whimper Kun had made when the reversal connected. He replayed the battle in his mind, frame by frame. His own arrogance, his emotional charge, his failure to see the trap. Brawley was right. He had been reckless. He had treated it like a spar, not a battle where the stakes were his partner's well-being. In the shinobi world, recklessness got your comrades killed. Here, it got your Pokemon maimed. The principle was the same, he'd just forgotten it in his desire to prove himself. "I'm sorry," he whispered to the sleeping Kun, his voice thick. "I got you hurt. I won't let it happen again." The door opened softly. Maya entered, carrying a tray with 2 steaming mugs. She placed one beside Naruto and sat cross-legged on the floor next to him, not speaking, just offering her presence. After a long silence, she said, "He's strong. He'll pull through. The cast will come off in a week. His spirit, it's not broken. I can feel it." "Mine is," Naruto admitted, the confession torn from him. "I thought I was strong enough. I thought our bond was enough." "It is enough," Maya said firmly. "But it's the foundation, not the whole house. Brawley's method is harsh, but his point isn't entirely wrong. Strength in this world has many facets. Raw power, strategy, type advantage, prediction, and the will to make hard choices in the heat of battle. You have the will. You lack the framework." She sipped her tea. "Brawley passed you on the control test. He failed you on the battle assessment. Officially, you can retake the assessment in 1 month. Unofficially, he told me he'd waive the weight if you can demonstrate strategic growth. He respects grit, even if he disagrees with your approach." Naruto looked up, a flicker of his old defiance returning. "How?" "By showing him you've learned. Not just by training Kun harder, but by training yourself. By understanding this world's battle system. And," she hesitated, "by catching another Pokemon." "What?" "No. I'm not. It's not about replacing him, Naruto. It's about expanding your perspective. A trainer with only one Pokemon is limited. They can't cover each other's weaknesses. What will you do when you face a water type or a rock type that completely walls Kun's fire? You'll charge in recklessly again and get him hurt worse. A team is a unit. Each member supports the others." The concept was alien, yet chillingly logical. It was like a shinobi cell. He thought of Team 7, Kakashi's leadership, Sasuke's power, Sakura's support, his own unpredictability. They covered each other's flaws. "How?" he asked again, the word now carrying determination. "The woods west of town are full of wild Pokemon. But you don't catch them. Not the way you think. You encounter them. You battle them. And if you earn their respect, if they see strength and a worthy purpose in you, they may choose to join you. The Pokeball is just a tool for convenience, a home they can return to. The choice is ultimately theirs. That's the truth most forget." Earning respect. That, he understood. For the next week, while Kun healed, Naruto immersed himself. He studied type charts until he dreamed of them. He watched recorded gym battles on the center's terminal, analyzing strategies, predicting switches, noting how trainers used terrain. He helped Maya with the shelter Pokemon, learning to care for different species, understanding their instincts and fears. He saw a wounded Tailo refuse to eat until he sat quietly with it for an hour, projecting calm. He saw an abused Poochyena flinch from every raised hand until Naruto, remembering his own childhood, simply sat with his back to it, offering silent, non-threatening companionship until it crept forward to sniff his hair. He was learning a new language, the language of silent trust. At night, he meditated, not just to replenish chakra, but to stretch his senses out. The wild energy of the world, which he now knew was called aura by some scholars, was everywhere. He couldn't manipulate it like chakra, but he could feel it. He could feel the steady, warm pulse of Kun's healing fire aura from across the center. He could feel the skittish, electric buzz of the Pikachu in the woods, the deep, earthy rumble of a Geodude in the cliffs. Sage mode was impossible without the natural energy of Mount Mayaboku, but the principle of harmonizing with external energy, that, he could practice. He sat under the stars, trying to still his own chakra, to let the world's aura wash over him. It was frustrating, like trying to grasp smoke. But sometimes, for a fleeting second, he felt a connection, a sense of the forest's breath, the river's flow. It was a start. The day Kun's cast came off was a celebration. The Growlithe was stiff, but his eyes blazed with undimmed spirit. He nuzzled Naruto fiercely, then immediately dropped into a play-fight stance with his pups, his movements slightly careful but full of joy. He's ready for light training, Maya said. But you have a month before the official retest. I suggest you use the time to explore. To meet others. The next morning, with Kun trotting proudly at his side and the pups left in Maya's care, Naruto ventured west into the Verdanturf woods with a new purpose. He carried a few basic supplies, a first aid kit, and 5 empty poke balls Maya had insisted he take. Just in case, she'd said. They traveled deeper than before. Naruto moved with shinobi silence, Kun mimicking his cautious steps. They avoided large, powerful auras for now. Naruto was looking for something specific, guided by his studies. Kun was fire type. He needed a partner who could handle the ground, rock, and water types that gave fire trouble. A grass type was logical, but many were slow. A flying type offered mobility. He needed something with potential, with spirit. He found it, or rather, it found him, near a sun-dappled clearing with a small pond. A flash of green and red shot past his head, followed by an angry chittering. A Cythia, its mantis-like form a blur of lethal blades, was locked in a fierce duel with a much smaller opponent. The smaller Pokemon was a Ralts, a humanoid creature with a green, helmet-like dome and a white, dress-like body. It was clearly outmatched. It dodged a lethal Fury Cutter with a teleport-like flicker, the move teleport, but it was tiring. Its small arms were raised, a faint pink barrier, reflect, shattering under Cythia's next assault. The Ralts was backed against a tree, its red eyes wide with fear and determination. It wouldn't run. Something in that small, defiant stance reminded Naruto of himself, standing alone against Mizuki, against Gaara, against pain. Kun! Ember, distraction shot! Naruto commanded, not as a trainer ordering a tool, but as a comrade calling for support. A jet of fire streaked past the Cythia's head, causing it to hiss and turn its bladed gaze toward them. The Ralt seized the moment, firing a weak but precise confusion attack that made the Cythia stagger. It's okay. We're here to help, Naruto called to the Ralts, projecting calm and intent through his chakra, hoping it could sense emotions as its Pokédex entry suggested. The Ralts looked at him, its gaze piercing. It felt, not just his intent, but the echoes of his loneliness, his determination, his protective fury. It gave a small, decisive nod. The Cythia, now enraged, charged at Kun, its sides glowing green, leaf blade. Dodge and use flame spiral on its legs. Slow it down, Naruto ordered. Kun, fully recovered, moved with agile grace, the spiraling fire scoring a hit on the Cythia's lower joint. The bug type screeched, its charge faltering. But it was fast. It pivoted, using its wings to buzz into the air for a moment before diving. Ralts, now! Use confusion on its wings. Don't let it get altitude, Naruto shouted, coordinating with the creature he'd just met. The Ralt's eyes glowed blue. The Cythia's wings seized up mid-buzz, and it crashed awkwardly to the ground. It was a brilliant, timely move. Kun, close the distance. Bite now! As Kun lunged, the Cythia, desperate, unleashed a point-blank X-scissor. The crossed blades glowed with devastating power. There was no time to dodge. In that split second, Naruto didn't think. His body moved. A shunshin, not the full-body flicker, but a burst of chakra-enhanced speed, carried him into the space between Kun and the blades. He couldn't stop the attack, but he could deflect it. A kunai was in his hand, channeled with wind nature chakra, meeting one of the glowing sides in a shower of sparks. Clang! The force was immense, numbing his arm. The kunai was knocked from his grip, but the deflection altered the X-scissor's path. It grazed Kun's shoulder instead of cleaving into his side, and the other blade whiffed past Naruto's head, slicing a lock of blonde hair. Before the Cythia could recover, a powerful, focused confusion from the Ralts hammered into its head. The bug-type's eyes rolled back, and it collapsed, unconscious. Silence returned to the clearing, broken by heavy breathing. Kun whined, licking the shallow cut on his shoulder, then nuzzling Naruto's leg worriedly. Naruto patted his head, his heart hammering. I'm okay. You're okay. He turned to the Ralts. It was trembling, but standing tall. It looked from the fallen Cythia to Naruto, who had put himself in harm's way for a Pokemon he didn't know. It felt the storm of emotions within him, the fear for Kun, the adrenaline, the unwavering refusal to let anyone else get hurt. Slowly, the Ralts walked forward. It stopped in front of Naruto and reached out a small, three-fingered hand. Not to shake, but to gently touch his chest, over his heart. A wave of emotion, not his own, flooded Naruto's senses. Not words, but pure impressions, loneliness. Fear of sharp blades. A desire for strength. A yearning for a heart that shines bright and true. Yours shines. It is loud. It is warm. Tears pricked Naruto's eyes. This creature felt emotions as clearly as he saw colors. It saw past his bravado, past his failure, to the core of who he was. You feel alone too, don't you? Naruto whispered. The Ralts nodded, a single tear tracing a path down its white face. Do you want to come with us? Naruto asked, holding out one of the empty poke balls, not as a trap, but as an offering. We're trying to get strong. Not to hurt others, but to protect what matters. To prove that bonds are real. It's gonna be really hard. And really dangerous. The Ralts looked at the ball, then at Kun, who gave a friendly, welcoming bark. It looked back at Naruto, into the ocean of blue resolve in his eyes. It saw his promise, and it saw his pain. It saw a kindred spirit. With a final, decisive nod, the Ralts reached out and tapped the button on the poke ball. It dissolved into red light and was drawn inside. The ball rocked once, twice, and sealed with a soft click. Naruto stared at the ball in his hand, a profound sense of responsibility settling on his shoulders, heavier than any mission scroll. He had not captured a Pokemon. He had been chosen. He released the Ralts immediately. It appeared in a flash of light, looking up at him. I'm Naruto Uzumaki. This is Kun. The Ralts tilted its head, then its eyes glowed faintly. A soft, psychic impression formed in Naruto's mind, not a voice, but a clear, genderless concept name, Kizuna. Bond. Naruto smiled, a real, radiant smile that reached his eyes. Kizuna. It's perfect. As they turned to leave the clearing, Kun walking beside him and Kizuna hovering just off the ground at his other side, Naruto felt it. The team was no longer an abstract concept. It was a reality. A fire-type warrior and a psychic-type empath. They were mismatched, unproven, and carried their own scars. But together, they represented his new philosophy, fierce protection and profound understanding. The will of fire and the heart of empathy. He looked toward verdant turf. Broly's test awaited. But Naruto was no longer the same boy who had entered that gym. He had been forged in failure, tempered by empathy, and now had a new ally who saw the world through the lens of the heart. The path to becoming a legendary trainer was not just about winning. It was about building something worthy of legend. And he had just laid the second stone. Chapter 4, The Heart's Proof. Training with Kizuna was a revelation, a dialogue in silence and sensation. The Ralts did not learn through drills and repetition like Kun, but through emotional resonance and psychic connection. Its movements were fluid, its attacks born of focus rather than force. It watched Naruto's chakra exercises with profound curiosity, its own psychic aura shimmering in response. They trained in the woods, away from prying eyes. Kun practiced his flame spiral until it could be released in a continuous, controlled stream, a spiraling lance of fire. Naruto worked with Kizuna on precision. Using small, painted targets on tree trunks, he'd have Kizuna practice its confusion attack, not as a blunt force, but as a precise, telekinetic push or pull. See the center of the target, Kizuna, Naruto would say, pointing. Don't just hit it. Move it. Like this. He'd throw a shuriken, thunking it dead center. Kizuna's eyes would glow, and the target would shudder, then slowly, with increasing control, rotate or tilt on its nail. The focus required was immense, but Kizuna thrived on it. Naruto began to bridge their worlds. During a break, as Kun napped in a sunbeam, Naruto sat before Kizuna and formed a tiny, harmless Rasengan in his palm, a whirl of blue chakra the size of a marble, humming softly. Kizuna floated closer, mesmerized. It reached a small hand toward the spinning energy, not touching, but feeling its structure. Its own psychic aura, a pale pink, extended from its fingertips, interacting with the chakra. The Rasengan didn't destabilize. Instead, the psychic energy began to weave around it, creating a faint, shimmering lattice. Naruto's breath caught. You're stabilizing it? Reinforcing it? He let the Rasengan dissipate. Can you make your own? A sphere of psychic energy? Kizuna closed its eyes, concentrating. Its whole body glowed pink. Between its hands, a sphere of chaotic psychic force began to form, crackling with unstable energy. It was no Rasengan, it lacked the violent, grinding rotation, but it was a concentrated ball of pure mental power. With a soft cry, Kizuna released it. The Psybeam shot forth, not as a beam, but as a condensed sphere that struck a rotting log and exploded it into splinters with a concussive thump of mental force. Exhausted, Kizuna wobbled. Naruto caught it, supporting its small form. You did it! That was amazing! We'll call it Psychic Sphere. We'll make it our secret move. The bond between them deepened. Kizuna would often rest atop Naruto's head or shoulder, its presence a calming, empathic balm to his lingering anxieties. It sensed his nightmares, flashes of a different world, of lost friends, and would project gentle, soothing feelings of safety and belonging. In return, Naruto's unwavering, bright optimism became a beacon for the naturally timid psychic type. But theory and secret techniques were one thing. They needed battle experience as a team, against something less lethal than a Cythia. Maya suggested the local trainer's path, a route north of town where novice trainers often battled. Their first official Pokemon battle was against a boy named Leo, who couldn't have been older than 10, with a determined frown and a zigzagoon. It was a simple one-on-one, Kun against the normal type. Zigzagoon, tackle! Leo shouted. Kun, dodge and use smoke screen! Naruto commanded, wanting to practice control, not overwhelming force. Kun exhaled a cloud of thick, black smoke, shrouding the field. The Zigzagoon charged blindly, stumbling past. Now, a gentle ember to its flank. Just enough to sting. A small jet of fire puffed from the smoke, singeing the Zigzagoon's fur. It yelped and retreated, its spirit broken. Leo recalled it, looking disappointed. Good control, Kun, Naruto said, rubbing his mane. But the victory felt hollow. He saw the dejection in Leo's eyes. This wasn't what he wanted. The next battle was against a teenage girl with a Lotad. A water/grass type. A direct counter to Kun. Kun, return, Naruto said, holding up the Pokeball Maya had modified to work without capture, simply as a recall device. Kun vanished in a red beam. The girl looked surprised. Most novice trainers would panic and fight at a disadvantage. Go, Kizuna! The Ralts materialized, hovering calmly. A Ralts? Ha! Lotad, water gun! Kizuna, teleport behind it, then confusion. Kizuna vanished in a flicker, reappearing directly behind the confused Lotad. A pulse of psychic energy slammed into the lily pad Pokemon, knocking it forward. It was super effective. 2 more precise confusions, and Lotad was down. The battles continued. They won some, lost a few to more experienced trainers with evolved Pokemon. With each fight, Naruto's strategic mind, honed in life or death shinobi combat, adapted to the formalized rules of Pokemon battle. He learned to predict switches, to bait attacks, to use the environment. Kun learned patience. Kizuna learned battle-hardened focus. But Naruto's methods drew whispers. He never ordered a flamethrower, or psychic, to finish a fainted opponent. He recalled his Pokemon the moment they showed signs of excessive fatigue or pain. He often stepped physically into the trainer's box, his body coiled like a fighter's, his eyes tracking the battle with an intensity that unnerved opponents. After one battle where a trainer's Tailo was injured by a lucky critical hit, Naruto was at its side before the trainer, pulling out a potion from his belt and administering it without a word. Freak! The trainer muttered, stalking off. Maya heard the rumors. She watched him train, saw the way Kun and Kizuna looked to him not just for commands, but for shared strategy, their eyes meeting his in moments of silent understanding. She saw him, after a tough loss to a trainer with a combustion, sit with both his Pokemon, not berating them, but analyzing the loss together, asking them with gestures and emphatic speech what they felt went wrong. The month passed. Kun was stronger, faster, his flames hotter. Kizuna's teleport was instantaneous over short distances, its confusion sharp as a scalpel, and its secret psychic sphere, while draining, was a potent finisher. Naruto himself had grown leaner, harder, his chakra reserves back to a healthy level, his senses attuned to the aura of his partners and the world around them. The day of the reassessment arrived. Brawly was waiting in the gym, his Makuhita looking even more solid and imposing. A small crowd had gathered, Maya, Officer Keith, a few curious townsfolk who'd heard of the wild boy and his strange ways. Back for more, huh? Brawly said, his tone neutral. One-on-one again. Your choice of Pokemon. Show me your strategic growth. Naruto didn't hesitate. Kun, I choose you. The Growlithe took the field, his posture confident, his flames a calm, ready corona around his neck. He looked at Makuhita not with fear, but with respectful determination. Same rules. Begin. Makuhita, bulk up! Brawly started, opting to power up first. Kun, howl! Naruto commanded. Kun threw his head back, letting out a resonant, strengthening cry that raised his attack power. He wasn't just attacking, he was preparing. Now arm thrust! Agility! Evade! Kun became a blur of orange, darting around the slower, powered-up Makuhita, making the arm thrust swish through empty air. It was a display of speed and control Naruto hadn't shown before. Trying to tire it out? Not gonna work. Vital throw! Brawly ordered, trying to repeat his previous victory. As Makuhita lunged to grab, Naruto's voice was sharp. Now! Double team, then flame spiral on its forward foot! 4 copies of Kun appeared. The Makuhita grabbed one, an illusion, which popped. In that moment of confusion, the real Kun unleashed his spiraling fire, not at the body, but precisely at the foot Makahita was using to step forward. The superheated attack struck true. Makahita roared, its balance compromised. Don't let up! Smokescreen, full coverage! A dense cloud billowed from Kun, engulfing the hobbled Makahita and half the field. The crowd murmured. You're hiding? Fight head on! Brawly barked. That's your way, Naruto said, his voice carrying clearly. Our way is to fight smart. Kun! Use your nose! Flank and bite! Within the smoke, they heard a yelp from Makahita. Kun had used the cover and Makahita's injury to land a solid bite on its other leg. Reversal, now! Brawly shouted, betting on the pain to fuel his Pokemon's power. Kun, disengage! Back to the far wall! Naruto ordered. Kun burst from the smoke, retreating. Makahita's glowing reversal strike hit nothing but sand. The fighting type panted, burning energy on a missed move, its legs now both wounded. He's weakening. Now we go in. But carefully. Flame spiral, sustained, from a distance. Wear it down. Kun began to circle, firing tight, drilling spirals of fire. Makahita tried to block or dodge, but its mobility was shot. Each hit sapped its strength further. It was a battle of attrition, but a controlled, surgical one. Enough! Makahita, focus punch! Full power! Ignore the fire! Brawly commanded, a last, all-or-nothing gambit. Makahita's fists glowed white, gathering immense energy. It began its charge, a slow, telegraphed move, but one that would end the fight if it connected. Naruto saw the opening. The commitment. The exact same opening as last time, but now he was ready. He didn't order a reckless charge. Kun! Agility, maximum! Circle behind! Use flame spiral impact! It was a move they practiced in secret, combining Kun's speed, his signature spiral, and a concept from Naruto's most devastating technique. Kun became an orange comet. He didn't shoot the flame, he became the spiral. Channeling the fire around his entire body in a roaring, corkscrewing vortex, he used his agility-enhanced speed to shoot past the charging Makahita, not striking it head-on, but raking the spiraling flames along its side in a grinding, searing pass. It wasn't a direct hit. It was a brutal, glancing blow that used the opponent's own momentum against it. Makahita was spun around by the force, its focused punch exploding harmlessly into the air as it crashed to the sand, defeated. Silence. Kun stood panting at the far end of the arena, his flames guttering out, exhausted but victorious. Makahita struggled to rise, but couldn't. Brawly was stunned. He slowly recalled his Pokemon. He looked at Naruto, then at Kun. The strategy had been flawless: reconnaissance, howl, mobility and misdirection, agility, double team, smokescreen, exploitation of weakness, targeting the legs, controlled attrition, and finally, a decisive, innovative finisher that avoided the opponent's trump card. It wasn't just growth. It was a masterclass in adaptable tactics. Naruto walked onto the sand, not to celebrate, but to check on Kun. He poured a potion on the minor burns Kun had taken from the close-range fire of his own move. You were awesome, he whispered. Brawly approached. The crowd was silent, waiting. You didn't fight with emotion, Brawly stated. You fought with your head. And his. He nodded at Kun. You used his strengths, speed, fire, senses, in a coherent strategy. You protected him from the reversal. You earned that win. He held out a small, laminated card. Your provisional trainer ID. It's yours. You've proven your control and your strategic mind. Naruto took the card. It felt insignificant compared to the look of pride in Kun's eyes and the warm pulse of congratulations from Kizuna's ball on his belt. But it was a key to this world. But, Brawly continued, his voice lowering. A word of advice. What you did here was clever. But in some gyms, against some trainers, they won't just aim to defeat your Pokemon. They'll aim to break them. To break you? Your compassion, your refusal to push for the unnecessary knockout, some will see that as weakness and exploit it ruthlessly. The world beyond Verdanturf is not as forgiving as my sand pit. Naruto met his gaze, the fire in his blue eyes not hot, but deep and steady as a forge. Let them try. My weakness, as you call it, is my strength. It's what they fight for. He placed a hand on Kun's head. We don't fight to prove we're stronger than others. We fight to prove our bonds are unbreakable. That's our Nindo. Brawly held his gaze for a long moment, then a slow, genuine smile spread across his face. It was the first real emotion the gym leader had shown him. Heh. Nindo, huh? I like that. Well then, Naruto Uzumaki. With that attitude, you might just change a few things. Good luck. You'll need it. As Naruto left the gym, ID in hand, the sun was setting. Maya fell into step beside him, a proud smile on her face. You did it! And you did it your way! It's just the beginning, Naruto said, looking at the western horizon, where the sky burned with the same colors as Kun's mane. The first official step was taken. He had a license. He had a team. He had a philosophy. And somewhere out there, in the vast, unforgiving regions, were gyms, legends, and trainers who believed in a different, crueler truth. He would meet them all. He would face them with fire and empathy, with shadow and light, and show them the strength found in the heart's proof. The journey to Rustboro City, home of the first official gym leader in the Hoenn circuit, began the next morning. The path was open. The real test awaited. Chapter 5: The Rust and the Resolve. The road from Verdanturf to Rustboro City was a journey of verticality and industry. The gentle, forested hills gave way to sheer cliffs, winding mountain paths, and the ever-present, distant rumble of machinery. The air grew sharper, carrying the scent of crushed stone and cold metal. To Naruto, raised among the wooden architecture and serene forests of Konoha, it felt alien and imposing. Kun trotted ahead, his flames a defiant spot of warmth against the gray landscape. Kizuna floated beside Naruto, its empathic senses recoiling slightly from the harsh, discordant emotions of the mining operations they passed. Naruto felt it too, a grinding, acquisitive energy that sought to dominate the land, not harmonize with it. They camped in a hollow away from the main road. As Naruto prepared a simple meal, a tremor ran through the ground, followed by a chorus of distressed cries from wild Pokemon, Eren and Geodude, mostly. He crept to a ridge overlooking a small quarry. Below, a group of men in grimy uniforms with a stylized R emblem were using heavy machinery and a pack of snarling Mitayana to herd a group of terrified Eren into large transport cages. One Eren, smaller than the rest, lagged behind, its metallic hide scuffed. "Hurry it up!" one man yelled. "The boss wants a fresh batch for the pressure tests. That runt's not worth the cage, scare it off!" A Mitayana lunged, dark-type energy coating its fangs in a crunch attack aimed at the small Eren's leg. The Eren braced, but the attack would shatter its armor. Naruto moved. He didn't declare himself. He didn't shout. He was a shinobi, and these were hostiles exploiting the weak. A shuriken, whistling through the air, struck the Mitayana's snout not to injure, but to startle it, spoiling its attack. In the moment of confusion, Naruto dropped from the ridge in a silent fall, landing between the Eren and the poachers. "What the? Kid, get lost! This is rocket business!" the lead poacher snarled, hefting a shock prod. Team Rocket. The name sparked a cold fury in Naruto. Maya had warned him of them, a criminal syndicate that saw Pokemon as tools and commodities. They were the embodiment of everything he despised. "The Eren isn't going with you," Naruto said, his voice low and final. "Take him down, boys! Teach him to mess with us!" Two Mitayana charged. Two grunts released a Golbat and a sand shrew. Naruto didn't recall his partners. He joined them. "Kun, Kizuna! We fight together! Kun, flame spiral on the Golbat! Kizuna, confusion on the sand shrew, keep it disoriented! I'll handle the dogs!" He drew a kunai in each hand, channeling wind nature chakra along the blades. He met the first Mitayana not with a block, but with a fluid dodge, his kunai raking along its side in a non-lethal but painful cut. The second lunged for his throat. He dropped under it, delivering a chakra-enhanced kick to its ribs that sent it yelping. Kun's spiraling fire forced the Golbat into evasive, dizzying loops. Kizuna's psychic pushes kept the sand shrew tumbling, unable to dig or attack effectively. The poachers stared, slack-jawed. This wasn't a Pokemon battle. It was a coordinated, multi-front assault where the human was as dangerous as the Pokemon. One grunt fumbled for a walkie-talkie. "We need backup! Some kind of freak trainer!" Naruto's second kunai, thrown with pinpoint accuracy, shattered the device. "Leave! Now! Take your machines and go! Or next time, I won't hold back!" The cold promise in his eyes, the aura of lethal intent honed in 100 wars, broke their resolve. They recalled their Pokemon and fled, scrambling into their trucks and roaring away. The small Eren stumbled up to Naruto, nuzzling his leg with its cool, metal head. The rest of the herd, freed from the cages, gathered around, their fear replaced by a low, rumbling gratitude. Naruto treated the small one's scratches with a potion. "You're safe now," he said softly. The Eren looked at him, then at Kun and Kizuna. It made a decision. It butted its head gently against Naruto's backpack, where an empty poke ball was stored. Naruto was taken aback. "You want to come with us? It's dangerous. We're heading into more conflict." The Eren stomped a foot, a determined clang. It had seen his strength, his willingness to protect. It wanted to be strong like that. To protect its kind. Hesitantly, Naruto offered the ball. The Eren tapped it and was captured without a wobble. He released it immediately. I'm Naruto. This is Kun and Kizuna. The Eren let out a happy, metallic chirp. Eren! It was sturdy, stubborn, and had a heart as strong as its steel shell. Naruto named it Tetsu, Iron. Their arrival in Rustboro City was a sensory overload. The city was a monument to human ambition, a canyon of concrete, steel, and glass carved into the mountainside. Massive cranes swung overhead. The din of construction was constant. The Pokemon here were different too, Mach-Hop carrying girders, Magnemite floating near power lines, Grimer in the alleys. It was a world of harsh angles and grinding progress. The Rustboro Gym was not a building, it was a fortress. It resembled a massive, reinforced warehouse, the symbol of a pickaxe and gear emblazoned above its doors. This was the domain of Roxanne, the rock-type gym leader, renowned for her tactical, unforgiving defensive style. Naruto's first sight of her was in a public exhibition match in the gym's annex. She was a serious young woman with sharp, intelligent eyes, her hair tied back precisely. On the field, her nose pass, a strange, immobile, compass-faced Pokemon, weathered a barrage of water guns from a trainer's Marshtomp without flinching, before retaliating with a single, perfectly aimed rock slide that buried the water type. The battle was methodical, cold, and utterly dominant. It wasn't about flair or passion, it was about geological inevitability. Naruto felt a chill that had nothing to do with the city's shade. This was Brawly's warning made manifest. Roxanne didn't just aim to win, she aimed to demonstrate the futility of opposition. She would grind you down. He spent days observing the city's training culture. Trainers here emphasized power, durability, and type advantage above all. He saw a trainer force his Geodude to train by having it stand under a waterfall, ignoring its cries of fatigue. He saw another abandon a wounded Zubat outside the Pokemon Center because it lost too much value. The philosophy of Rustboro was one of utility and relentless pressure. It sickened him. He trained his team in a disused quarry on the city's outskirts. Tetsu was the key. The Eren was pure steel/rock. It was immune to poison, resistant to a dozen types, and incredibly tough. But it was slow. So slow. We can't change your speed, Tetsu, Naruto said, patting its solid head. So we'll make your defense into an offense. We'll make you a fortress that hits back. He taught Tetsu Iron defense, not just as a static buff, but as a reactive technique, to harden at the moment of impact, turning the opponent's force back on them. He had Kun use weak flame spirals against Tetsu's side, not to hurt, but to temper it, to get it used to heat and pressure. He had Kizuna use confusion to gently rock Tetsu, teaching it to keep its center of gravity. Tetsu learned Rock Tomb, but Naruto focused on control, not just dropping rocks, but placing them to limit the battlefield, to channel opponents into kill zones. It was a shinobi's trap setting, translated into rock and steel. The day of the gym challenge arrived. The main arena was a stark, rocky terrain under harsh artificial lights. Roxanne stood at the far end, her expression unreadable. The stands were half full with spectators who viewed battles like engineering audits. Challenger Naruto Uzumaki, she stated, her voice crisp. Rustboro Gym rules 3-on-3. Only the challenger may substitute Pokemon. Begin. She didn't ask for his readiness. She simply threw her first Pokeball. Geodude, start us off. The round, rocky Pokemon with muscular arms materialized, thumping the ground. Naruto took a deep breath. This was it. His first official badge battle. Tetsu, I choose you. His Eren appeared with a solid clank. The spectators murmured. Using a rock/steel type against a pure rock type? It was a neutral matchup, a statement. Naruto wasn't here to play the type advantage game on her terms. He was here to fight his fight. A statement of resilience, Roxanne noted coolly. Geodude, rock polish, then bulldoze. Geodude's surface gleamed, its speed sharply increasing. It shot forward, one fist slammed into the ground, sending a shockwave through the rocky terrain. Tetsu brace. Iron defense at the point of impact. Tetsu crouched, its body gleaming metallic silver just as the bulldoze wave hit. The ground shattered around it, but Tetsu held firm, skidding back only a foot, leaving deep grooves in the stone. Now, while it's close. Metal Claw! Tetsu lunged, one claw glowing silver. It scraped across Geodude's tough hide, leaving a shallow gouge. Inefficient. Geodude magnitude. Geodude leaped and slammed down. The entire arena shook violently. Tetsu was thrown off its feet. It was a powerful, area of effect ground move, super effective against its steel typing. Tetsu cried out in pain as it hit the ground. Tetsu! Get up! Use Rock Tomb on its landing spot! Staggering up, Tetsu summoned jagged rocks that erupted around the Geodude, not to hit it directly, but to cage it, limiting its mobility for the next move. Geodude, break through with rock throw. Now Tetsu. Headbutt full force through the gap. As Geodude shattered one of the tomb rocks with the thrown boulder, Tetsu charged, its head lowered, and plowed into the Geodude's center mass. It was a brutal clash of stone on steel. Both Pokémon recoiled, damaged. Finish it. Roll out. Geodude curled into a ball and began to spin, building speed as it careened toward the wobbling Tetsu. Naruto's mind raced. A direct hit would knock Tetsu out. He needed to break its momentum. Tetsu! Don't dodge! Meet it! Iron defense, maximum, and use Iron Tail as a counter. It was a desperate, high-risk move. Tetsu glowed like a polished ingot, planted its feet, and its tail glowed silver. It swung its heavy, metallic tail not at the rolling Geodude, but at the ground in front of it, like a golfer's divot. Crack thud. Tetsu's iron tail shattered the arena floor a split second before Geodude reached it. The rollout hit the newly created pit and crater, its trajectory violently interrupted. Geodude bounced awkwardly, uncurling dazed. Tetsu, using the last of its strength, lunged and delivered a final, solid metal claw to its face. Geodude fell unconscious. The crowd was silent. Roxanne recalled her Pokémon, her analytical gaze fixed on Tetsu, which stood panting, covered in dust and cracks, but triumphant. A calculated risk using terrain disruption. Unorthodox. She sent out her second Pokémon. Nose Pass. The immovable compass-faced Pokémon took the field. Its presence was oppressive. It simply stood there, a fortress. Tetsu, return. You were amazing. Naruto recalled the exhausted Eren. Kun! Your turn! The Growlithe took the field, flames blazing. Fire against rock. A terrible matchup on paper. Fire spin, Naruto ordered. Kun unleashed a vortex of fire that engulfed Nose Pass. The rock type didn't flinch. The flames licked harmlessly at its stony body. Ineffective, Roxanne stated. Nose Pass, block. An invisible force field solidified around Nose Pass, trapping Kun within close range. Now Rock Slide. Jagged stones materialized above Kun and rained down. He yelped, dodging frantically, but in the confined space, several struck him hard. Kun! Use smokescreen inside the fire spin! Create a sensory blackout! Kun obeyed, mixing thick smoke with the flames, creating a swirling, opaque inferno around Nose Pass. A trivial distraction. Nose Pass does not require sight. Shockwave. Electricity crackled from Nose Pass in a guaranteed hit omnidirectional blast. It tore through the smoke and struck Kun, who cried out, his fur standing on end. He collapsed, paralyzed. Kun! Naruto's heart hammered. He'd walked into a trap. Nose Pass was a perfect counter, immune to flinching, shrugging off fire, with moves that couldn't miss. Return! He recalled Kun, his mind reeling. One Pokémon left. Kizuna. Psychic was super effective against rock, but Nose Pass was a special wall. Its special defense was monstrous. A direct psychic attack might not be enough. And if it used block again. Kizuna. I need your cleverness. The Ralts appeared, its form small and fragile against the immovable Nose Pass. Nose Pass, Thunder Wave. A spread of paralyzing electricity shot out. Teleport, now! Keep moving! Kizuna vanished, reappearing elsewhere, then again, a flickering phantom around the arena, avoiding the waves. It was draining its energy fast. This is futile. Rocks slide, area saturation. Rocks began to fall across the entire arena. Kizuna couldn't teleport forever. One grazed its shoulder, and it cried out, a small, pain sound that lanced through Naruto. Think. Roxanne's strategy was absolute defense and guaranteed hits. To win, he had to break the paradigm. He had to attack something Nose Pass couldn't defend with high special defense. He looked at Nose Pass's feet, planted firmly on the rocky ground. The ground. Kizuna! It's weak to ground. Use confusion, on the arena floor beneath it. Not on it. Loosen the bedrock. Kizuna's eyes glowed blue. It focused not on the Pokémon, but on the stone platform Nose Pass stood on. With a grinding shriek of psychic force, it wrenched the entire 6-foot square of solid rock upward, tilting it violently like a trapdoor. Nose Pass, for the first time, moved. It wobbled, its magnetic balance disrupted as its footing was literally pulled out from under it. It crashed onto its side with a heavy thud, disoriented. Now! Full power! Psychic sphere! Kizuna, hovering, gathered every ounce of its power. The unstable, crackling sphere of condensed mental force formed between its hands. With a cry of effort, it launched it. The sphere didn't strike Nosepass's hard body. It struck the rock it was lying on, right next to its head. The concussive psychic explosion didn't damage Nosepass directly through defense. It transferred through the solid medium it was in contact with, a point-blank, psychic shockwave transmitted through stone. The boom was deafening. The rock shattered. Nosepass was lifted and slammed back down, a web of cracks spreading across its stony hide. Its red nose light flickered. It struggled, but could not rise. It was down. The arena was utterly silent. Roxanne stared, her analytical composure finally cracked by sheer bafflement. He hadn't beaten her Nosepass with a super-effective move. He'd beaten it with structural engineering and concussive force. He'd attacked the battlefield itself. She slowly recalled Nosepass. She had one Pokemon left, her strongest. But she looked at Naruto, at his determined face, at the small, exhausted Ralts hovering loyally before him, and at the two balls on his belt holding his other wounded partners. She saw not just a challenger, but a philosophy that had just dismantled her perfect defense with a logic she'd never considered. "The match is concluded," she said, her voice soft but clear in the silence. "I forfeit my final Pokemon. To continue would be to ignore the lesson delivered. You prioritized disabling my strategy over merely damaging my Pokemon. You fought the battle, not just the opponent. That is, a higher form of tactics." She walked across the field and handed him a small, stone badge shaped like a jagged rock. The stone badge. "You have earned this. But understand, Naruto Uzumaki," she said, holding his gaze. "What you did here was brilliant. It was also an anomaly. The world is not a puzzle to be solved with clever tricks. There are forces with power so absolute, no amount of terrain manipulation will save you. Your compassion, your bond, they are strengths, but also colossal vulnerabilities. I hope, for your Pokemon's sake, you grow strong enough to protect them before those vulnerabilities are exploited." Naruto took the badge, its weight insignificant. The cost of the victory was etched in the exhaustion of his team. Kun paralyzed. Tetsu cracked and bruised. Kizuna on the verge of fainting from energy depletion. "My vulnerabilities are what they fight for." He repeated his mantra, but the words felt thinner here, in this temple of cold strength. He had won. But Roxanne's warning, colder and more precise than Brawly's, settled in his bones. He left the Rustboro gym not with a cheer, but with the grim understanding of a soldier who'd survived a skirmish in a much larger war. He had his first badge. He had proven his method could work. But ahead lay oceans, volcanoes, ghosts, and dragons. And somewhere in the shadows, an organization within our sought to turn the world's creatures into tools. His resolve was steel, but the path ahead promised to be a forge of unimaginable heat. He would need to become more than clever. He would need to become unbreakable. Chapter 6: The Soul of Dew. The victory in Rustboro was a Pyrrhic one, leaving a metallic taste of ash and exhaustion. Naruto spent 3 days at the city's Pokemon Center, a sterile, efficient place that felt more like a factory repair bay than a haven. His team healed, but the process was slow. Kun's paralysis left a lingering nervous twitch. Tetsu's cracks, while sealed, ached in the damp sea air that now reached them. Kizuna was listless, its psychic aura dimmed from the monumental effort of the psychic sphere. Roxanne's final words echoed in the silence of their recovery room. "Your compassion, colossal vulnerabilities." He watched a news report on the center's terminal. A feature on the upcoming Duford Town gym leader Brawly, showcasing his unrelenting offensive spirit. It cut to a battle where his newly evolved Hariyama slammed a challenger's Lombra into the ground with a brutal arm thrust, the water type lying still for a worrying length of time before being recalled. The crowd cheered. Naruto's fist clenched. This world's idea of strength was a hammer. He was a scalpel, but a scalpel was useless against a mountain. They left Rustboro on a coastal route, the grimy industrial air gradually giving way to the salty tang of the ocean. The change was profound. The world opened up, a vast expanse of rolling waves meeting a sky so blue it hurt. For Naruto, who had never seen an ocean beyond the land of waves, it was awe-inspiring and terrifying in its scale. The first town on the coast, a tiny fishing village, was a shock of a different kind. It was poor, weathered, and clinging to the cliffs. And it was under a shadow. Men and women in sharp, black uniforms with a red R on the breast patrolled the docks. They weren't poaching openly here, they were taxing. Fishermen handed over portions of their catch, not just fish, but the rare water Pokemon sometimes caught in nets, to the rocket grunts in exchange for safe passage and market access. Naruto saw an old fisherman argue over a particularly beautiful, shimmering fee ba. A grunt shoved him to the planks. "The boss has a client who likes rare fish. This'll cover your fees for a week." Be grateful. Naruto burned. But he remembered Rustboro. A direct fight here would just bring reprisals on the villagers later. He needed a different approach. He was a shinobi, information and indirect action were his tools. He spent the day observing, helping where he could, his foreign clothes earning him suspicious looks until he mended a torn net with swift, precise knots that spoke of a life of utility. He learned the rockets were using a cave system north of the village, accessible only at low tide, as a storage and transfer point. The local windgull and tailo were agitated, their nests disturbed. That night, under a moonless sky, he moved. Kun, Kizuna, Tetsu. This isn't a battle for a badge. It's a mission. Our objective, disrupt their operation. Create chaos. Free any captured Pokemon. Do not engage unless necessary. Understood? 3 determined nods. He approached the cave from the cliff tops, using chakra to cling to the sheer rock face like a gecko, his team following as best they could, Kun leaping between narrow ledges, Kizuna floating, Tetsu carefully picking its way down a rocky slope. At the cave entrance, 2 grunts stood guard with a Houndour and a Zubat. Smokescreen, Kun! Quietly. A thin, controlled stream of smoke drifted down, engulfing the entrance. The guards coughed, confused. Now, Kizuna. A gentle confusion on the Hounder's mind, make it sleepy. A soft psychic pulse. The Houndour yawned massively and lay down. The Zubat, blind and disoriented by the smoke, flapped erratically. Tetsu, Rock Tomb. Sealed the entrance. Tetsu summoned rocks, not with force, but with precision, creating a loose but convincing-looking rock slide that blocked the cave mouth. The shouts of the trapped grunts inside were muffled. Good. Now, along the coast. Look for their boats. They found a secluded cove where a small, fast-looking motorboat was anchored. A single grunt lounged against it, a Puchina at his feet. Naruto didn't give a command. He made a series of quick hand signs, a simple genjutsu, one of the few non-combative ones he'd learned from Kurenai. It was weak, barely a ripple in this world's different energy, but it was enough to make the grunt see a flicker of movement in the woods behind him. He turned, cursing. In that second, Naruto was upon him. A non-lethal chop to the neck dropped the man. The Puchina snarled, but Kun was there, a low growl and a flash of flame in his eyes making the dark tide back down, whining. Kizuna, can you communicate with it? Tell it it's free. Kizuna focused, projecting feelings of safety and freedom. The Puchina looked at the unconscious grunt, then at Naruto, and bolted into the night. Naruto swiftly disabled the boat's engine, slicing vital wires with a kunai. He then scrawled on the hull in permanent marker, using the rocket's own spray paint, "Leave. The wild protects its own." It was a message. A declaration. They retreated as the tide began to turn, the sound of angry shouts and pounding on rocks echoing from the sealed cave. The village would have a reprieve, maybe. A warning had been sent. The act of covert resistance settled something in him. He was not just a challenger on a circuit. He was a protector. A shadow in the world's light. Duford Town, when they reached it, was a stark contrast. It was vibrant, loud, and built on a steep hillside overlooking a beautiful bay. The air thrummed with music from open-air cafes and the shouts of trainers battling on the sandy beaches. The gym was a massive, open-sided dojo overlooking the water, the sound of waves mixing with the shouts of training. Brawley had changed. He was tanner, his body more defined, and there was a sharper edge to his previously laid-back demeanor. His Makuhita had evolved into the towering, powerhouse Hariyama. When Naruto went to register his challenge, Brawley recognized him immediately. "The Bond Theorist," Brawley said, a faint, not entirely friendly smile on his face. "Heard you beat Roxanne by making her arena your weapon. Clever. But this is Duford. Here, the only weapon is the one you forge in your own spirit and the body of your Pokemon. No tricks. Just power meeting power. You ready for that?" Naruto met his gaze. "My team is good. 3-on-3. Duford rules, no substitutions by either side. Once a Pokemon is sent out, it fights until it can't. That's the way of the warrior." It was a rule designed for brutality. Naruto felt a chill but nodded. The battle was set for high noon on the sandy gym floor. The stands were packed. Word had spread of the unconventional trainer from Verdanturf. Brawley's first choice was a Meditite, a fighting/psychic type. A tricky opener. Naruto sent out Kizuna. A psychic duel. "Begin!" "Meditite, calm mind," Brawley started, opting to boost its special power and defense. "Kizuna, don't let it set up. Confusion now!" A psychic blast shot out, but the Meditite, deep in meditation, simply took the hit, its aura glowing stronger. It finished its calm mind, its focus sharpened. Force palm! Brawly ordered. The Metatite vanished in a blur, appearing before Kizuna, its palm glowing with fighting energy. The move was super effective and fast. Teleport! Naruto yelled. Kizuna flickered away just in time, reappearing high in the dojo's rafters. It was panting. The Metatite's speed was terrifying. It can't stay up there. Metatite, feint! No escape! Feint, a move that hit even Pokemon attempting to evade. Metatite's form blurred again, a psychic afterimage shooting upward. Kizuna tried to teleport, but the move's unique property connected. A ghostly palm struck it, knocking it from the rafters. It hit the sand hard. Kizuna! The Ralt struggled up, disoriented. It was a terrible matchup. Brawly had chosen perfectly. Finish it. Psybeam. A shimmering beam of psychic energy lanced out. Kizuna, its senses scrambled, couldn't dodge. It took the full force and collapsed. Naruto recalled it, his heart a stone. You were brilliant. Rest. He looked at Brawly, who gave a solemn nod. This was his way. No mercy, no quarter. Go, Tetsu! The Eren clanked onto the sand. Steel/rock against fighting. Another bad matchup on paper, but Tetsu had resilience. Metatite back. Mac Hop, go! Brawly switched, sacrificing his right to switch under his own rules to gain type advantage. His Mac Hop was lean, wiry, and crackled with aggressive energy. Mac Hop, low kick! Mac Hop swept a leg at Tetsu's supporting limbs. A super effective fighting move against Tetsu's heavy, grounded form. Iron defense, brace! Tetsu glowed, hardening. The low kick connected with a thunk. Tetsu skidded back but held, the damage mitigated. Rock Tomb, now! Trap it! Rocks erupted around Mac Hop, not to hit, but to cage it, slowing its agile movements. Karate chop, break through! Matchup's hand glowed white, shattering one of the tomb rocks. But it was slowed. Now, Tetsu! Heavy slam! Use your weight! Tetsu glowed silver and charged, its entire body becoming a weapon. It crashed into the Mac Hop like a runaway minecart. The fighting type was flung back, gasping. It was damaged, but not out. Revenge! Brawly commanded, using the damage taken to power up the move. Mac Hop glowed red and launched a devastating counter-strike. It hit Tetsu square in the chest plate. A super effective critical hit. Crack! A fissure spiderwebbed across Tetsu's front. It let out a grinding cry of pain but didn't fall. It stood, trembling, its eyes locked on Naruto. Tetsu! One more! Metal Claw! With a final, grinding effort, Tetsu lunged and swiped. The claw struck Matchup's head. Both Pokemon fell, unconscious. A double knockout. The crowd roared. Brawly recalled his Mac Hop, his expression one of deep respect. Your Eren has a warrior's heart. Naruto recalled Tetsu, whispering thanks. He had one Pokemon left. Kun, who still bore a twitch from his paralysis. Brawly had his boosted Metatite and his fresh, monstrous Hariyama. Kun! It's all on us. The Growlithe took the field, flames burning low and steady. He looked at the Metatite, then back at Naruto. There was no fear. Only trust. Metatite, return. Hariyama, stand forth. The giant sumo Pokemon took the sand, its presence dominating the arena. The final match. Fire versus fighting. A terrible, hopeless matchup. Hariyama. Arm thrust. Kun, agility. Don't let it touch you. Kun became a blur, dancing around the slower, powerful thrusts. Hariyama was patient, its eyes tracking. Bullet punch. Hariyama's fist shot out with impossible speed for its size, a priority move. It clipped Kun's hind leg. Kun stumbled, a whine escaping. It's too fast and too strong, Naruto! Brawly called, not taunting, but stating fact. Your bond won't stop a fist that can shatter boulders. Hariyama, close combat! Hariyama's body surged with energy. It became a whirlwind of brutal, unrestrained strikes, sacrificing its own defense for overwhelming power. Kun, smoke screen! Disengage! Kun blasted smoke, but Hariyama plowed through it, a dark mountain of force. A fist grazed Kun's side, sending him tumbling. Naruto's mind raced. He couldn't win a direct fight. He couldn't use terrain. He had only Kun, fire, and speed against an immovable object with unstoppable force. And then he felt it. A faint, familiar, burning presence in his gut, stirring from its long slumber. Kurama. A single, sardonic thought brushed his mind, blurred by dimensional static. Pathetic. Letting a fat tick push you around. And with that touch, a spark. Not of the fox's chakra, but of an idea. A memory. Of facing a faster, stronger opponent, Niji. Of losing, then winning not by overpowering, but by exploiting the smallest opening. The 64 palms blocked chakra points. Hariyama's close combat left it defenseless, not just statistically, but literally. Its guard was down. "Kun!" Naruto shouted, his voice cutting through the roar of Hariyama's assault. "Listen to me! It's leaving itself open! Don't target its body! Target its pressure points! Its joints! Its feet! Use flame spiral like a needle! Precision, not power! Aim for the knees, the ankles!" It was an insane command. Pokemon didn't know human pressure points. But Kun knew Naruto. He knew the intent, the strategy distilled into emotion and trust. He didn't understand the anatomy, but he understood the concept: strike where the armor is thinnest, where the structure is weakest. As Hariyama ended its close combat flurry, panting, its defenses lowered, Kun moved. Not with agility, but with purpose. He darted in, not away. He unleashed his flame spiral, but not as a drilling lance. He focused it into a thin, incandescent beam, a fiery acupuncture needle. He struck Hariyama's left knee from the side. The giant Pokemon bellowed, not from massive damage, but from surprise and a sudden, shocking instability in its joint. It stumbled. Again! The other ankle! Another pinpoint spiral of fire. Hariyama's foot slipped in the sand. It wavered, its massive weight now a liability. "It's off balance! Now, full power flame spiral to the chest! Knock it back!" Kun, pouring every ounce of his remaining strength, unleashed his signature move directly into Hariyama's chest. The force, combined with Hariyama's compromised stance, did what raw power could not. The giant was pushed back, teetering on its weakened legs. With a final, ground-shaking groan, Hariyama fell backwards, landing on the sand with a tremendous thud. It struggled, but its own weight and the targeted strikes to its supports kept it down. It could not rise before the count. Silence, then deafening applause. Brawly stood frozen. He recalled his Hariyama, staring at Naruto with something beyond respect, something like awe, and a dawning, unsettling understanding. Naruto recalled Kun, who immediately fell asleep in his ball, utterly spent. He walked to the center, his body trembling with adrenaline and the strange, fading echo of Kurama's presence. Brawly handed him the knuckle badge, a fist-shaped piece of metal. You didn't overpower him. You unmade him. You fought his strength, not his Pokemon." He looked at Naruto as if seeing him for the first time. "What are you?" "I'm a trainer," Naruto said, his voice hoarse. "And I fight for my friends." He left the Dufour gym with his second badge, his body aching, his soul weary. He had won by applying shinobi tactics to a Pokemon's biology, guided by a flicker from a demon he thought silent. It was a victory that felt more like a revelation and a warning. On the docks of Dufour that evening, looking out at the endless ocean he would soon have to cross, he felt the vast, ancient power slumbering beneath the waves. And within himself, he felt the stirring of something older and far more dangerous. The path ahead was not just about badges or ideologies. It was about the monsters within, both in the world and in the soul of the boy who carried a fox. Chapter 7: The Crossing and the Calm. The sea was a different kind of wilderness. Naruto stood on the deck of the small, rust-speckled ferry Marine Dove, watching Dufour's cliffs shrink into a hazy line. The air was a blanket of salt and damp, the horizon a perfect, unbroken seam between slate-gray water and lighter gray sky. The engine thrummed a monotonous vibration through the deck plates. His team was restless in their balls, all but Kazuna, who sat perched on the railing beside him, its small form buffeted by the wind. The Ralts's psychic senses were wide open, drinking in the vast, empty emotions of the ocean, a profound, ancient melancholy, the fleeting joy of a leaping windgull, the deep, placid contentment of something enormous moving far below. "It feels big," Naruto murmured, not to Kazuna, but to the sea itself. "Big. Old. Hungry," Kazuna's psychic impression whispered back, tinged with awe and a thread of fear. The other passengers were a mix: weather-beaten fishermen, a few somber trainers heading for the mainland, and a family of tourists chattering excitedly about Slate Port City's market. Naruto kept to himself, a hood pulled up against the spray, his posture that of a traveler used to solitude. Midway through the crossing, the monotony broke. A cry went up from the crow's nest. "Rogue wave! Starboard side!" Naruto turned. It wasn't a wave. It was a wall of water, a sheer, green cliff rising silently and impossibly fast beside the ship. Panic erupted. The ferry listed violently as the captain tried to turn into it. But Naruto's eyes, sharper than any aboard, saw the cause. Just beneath the surface, a titanic, serpentine shadow coiled, an impossible length of blue and cream scales. A Gyarados. But not just any Gyarados. Its eyes glowed with a feral, red rage, and jagged scars crisscrossed its hide. This was a creature of pure, distilled wrath. The wave was a side effect of its thrashing, a tantrum of a demigod. "It's in pain," Naruto breathed, his senses, attuned to chakra and malice, feeling the Pokemon's agony as a physical pressure. This wasn't natural aggression. This was the fury of something deeply, grievously wrong. The wave hit. The world upended. Cold, brutal water slammed into Naruto, tearing Kizuna from the railing. He grabbed a safety line with one hand, his chakra flaring to his feet to stick to the shuddering deck. With the other, he snagged Kizuna's arm, pulling the psychic type to his chest. The ferry groaned, its spine threatening to snap. People and cargo were swept overboard. The Gyarados erupted from the water beside the stricken vessel, its maw wide enough to swallow a car, roaring a sound that was less animal and more force of nature. Its gaze swept the deck, blind with rage, and fixed on the brightest cluster of panic, the tourists huddled by the lifeboats. It drew in a breath, and the air chilled. Ice beam. A lance of super-cold energy screamed toward the cluster. There was no time for orders, for strategy. Naruto acted on instinct honed in 100 life-or-death moments. He shoved Kizuna into the relative shelter of a doorway and moved. He didn't have the chakra for a full-body flicker, but he had enough for a burst. He crossed the tilting deck in a blur of orange, placing himself between the ice beam and a terrified child. He couldn't block it. He could only disrupt it. Rasengan! The blue sphere of chakra whirled to life in his palm, not the perfected technique of his prime, but a desperate, smaller version. He didn't throw it. He met the ice beam with it. The collision was a cataclysm of opposing energies. The Rasengan's grinding rotation chewed into the beam, shattering the ice energy into a million glittering, harmless shards that exploded in a freezing mist around him. The force still knocked him off his feet, slamming him into a bulkhead. Pain exploded in his ribs. The Rasengan guttered out. But the child was safe. The Gyarados, thwarted, turned its hellish gaze on him. It saw the tiny, defiant spark that had dared interrupt its wrath. It dove, its massive tail, glowing with brutal aqua tail energy, rising from the depths to smash the ferry in half. This was it. They would all die. Then, a new song cut through the chaos. It was a melody, pure and clear, rising from the deep. It held no words, but it spoke of calm depths, of moonlit waves, of a peace so profound it could cradle storms. The very sea seemed to listen. From the opposite side of the ferry, a new form breached. Sleek, elegant, and breathtakingly beautiful. A Milotic. Its scales shimmered like a rainbow oil slick, its long fins flowing like silken ribbons in the water. Its eyes were large, kind, and held an ancient wisdom. The Milotic sang again, a direct counterpoint to the Gyarados' rage. It swam between the beast and the ferry, its body radiating a soft, pink aura, aqua ring and life dew intertwining, healing the very sea around it. The Gyarados' aqua tail faltered. The red glow in its eyes flickered, replaced by confusion, then a deep, recognizable anguish. It remembered this song. It remembered peace. The two titans regarded each other, one a monument to corrupted rage, the other the embodiment of serene grace. The Milotic sang a third time, a gentle, pleading note. It turned and began to swim slowly away, glancing back. With a final, shuddering groan that seemed to carry the weight of ages, the Gyarados turned from the ferry. It followed the Milotic, its movements now sluggish, lost, like a child following a forgotten lullaby. They disappeared into the deep, leaving behind a calming sea. The silence they left was deafening. The ferry, damaged but afloat, limped towards Slateport. Naruto sat against the bulkhead, clutching his ribs, staring at the spot where the legends had vanished. He had felt their auras. The Gyarados' pain was a jagged, open wound. The Milotic's calm was a bottomless well. He had also felt, in that moment of Rasengan and Ice Beam, a flicker of something else, a resonance. His chakra, his will, had briefly touched the primal energy of the Pokemon world and altered an outcome. He was not just a visitor here. He was becoming part of its ecology of power. Slateport City was a festival of color and noise after the gray ordeal of the sea. The air smelled of salt, frying food, and exotic spices from distant regions. The oceanfront market was a sprawling maze of tents and stalls selling everything from Magikarp-shaped candy to evolution stones. It was here, amidst the cacophony, that Naruto found a different kind of sanctuary. The Slateport Pokemon Fan Club was a modest building tucked away from the main bustle. Inside, it was quiet, filled with the soft sounds of Pokemon at ease and the gentle chatter of elderly members. It was a place dedicated not to battle, but to appreciation. to the simple joy of coexistence. An old man with a magnificent, curling white mustache and Atropius by his side introduced himself as Chairman Stone. "Ah, a new face! And one who bears the marks of the sea's temper," he said, noticing Naruto's bandaged ribs and the haunted look in his eyes. "Come, sit. Share some tea. Your Pokémon look like they could use a calm harbor." Naruto, weary in a way that went beyond the physical, accepted. He released his team. Kun lay down with a sigh, Tetsu clanked contentedly in a sunny spot, and Kazuna floated over to observe a group of peacefully napping Igglybuff. As they drank tea, Naruto spoke not of battles or badges, but of the Gyarados and the Milotic. Of the pain and the song. Chairman Stone listened, his eyes wise. "You witnessed a tragedy and its salvation. A Gyarados is not born a monster. It is made one, through cruelty, through poaching, through the shattering of its spirit when it was a helpless Magikarp. That one, its scars tell a story of hooks and nets and malice. The Milotic, they are guardians. Healers of the sea's heart. That one likely knew it from another time. You are fortunate. Few see such things and live to speak of them." He leaned forward. "You have a rare quality, young man. Your Pokémon do not just obey you. They listen to you. And you to them. I sense a harmony. But harmony can be a target in a world out of tune. There are those in this very city who would see such bonds as a curiosity to be dissected, or a weakness to be exploited." He told Naruto of a new attraction in the city, the Oceanic Museums. Battle Simulator. A technological marvel created by a reclusive genius named Watson from Malville City. But Stone's tone was dark. "The simulator is impressive. But it is funded by interests that see Pokémon as data points. They scout for trainers with unique synergies for their private projects." It was a warning. Naruto stored it away. For 2 days, Naruto and his team rested at the fan club. They did not train. They lived. Naruto helped groom the elderly members' Pokémon, learning the quiet pride of a well-brushed Ferret, the playful mischief of a Meowth. He walked with Kun along the beach at dawn, not running, just walking, feeling the sand between their toes and paws. He sat with Kazuna, practicing not battle telepathy, but simple emotional exchange, sharing the memory of ramen from Konoha, receiving in return the sensation of a perfect, sun-warmed berry. He taught Tetsu a game, rolling a heavy ball for the errand to push with its head, the simple joy of play making its metallic eyes shine. It was during this calm that he made a decision. He was missing something. His team had power, Kun, resilience, Tetsu, and finesse, Kazuna. But they lacked spontaneity, unpredictability. The pure, joyful chaos that had once defined his own fighting style. They needed a wild card. He found it at the edge of the market, in a discarded crate. A small, purple ball of fluff with a perpetual, manic grin and a tail that crackled with weak, sporadic electricity. A Mareep. But this one was different. Its wool was matted and singed in places. It was chasing its own tail, sparking, then zapping itself and giggling. It was clearly abandoned, deemed defective, for its inability to control its electric power. It was a danger to itself and useless for the orderly wool farms. But Naruto saw it. He saw the boundless, if misdirected, energy. He saw the loneliness behind the manic grin. It was an outcast. A reject. He approached slowly. The Mareep zapped itself again, let out a surprised "Masairi?" and then noticed him. It didn't flee. It tilted its head, its black eyes wide. Naruto sat down, cross-legged, a good distance away. He didn't speak. He simply formed a tiny, harmless Rasengan, the size of a marble, in his palm and let it hover. A trick of spinning energy. The Mareep's eyes locked onto it. Its own tail sparked in sympathetic rhythm. It took a hesitant step forward, then another. It was mesmerized. For an hour, Naruto simply played with energy. He'd make the Rasengan spin fast, then slow. He'd bounce a tiny spark of his own lightning nature chakra, a rudimentary skill at best, between his fingers. The Mareep watched, utterly captivated, its own chaotic sparks beginning to stabilize, to mimic the patterns it saw. Finally, it trotted right up to him and butted its head gently against his knee. A small, controlled spark jumped from its wool to his hand, a greeting, not a shock. Naruto laughed. "You're not broken. You just never had anyone show you how the energy flows." He named it Denki, electricity. But also spark. Denki was a disaster and a delight. It had no concept of formal training. It would see Kun practice a flame spiral and try to imitate it with a wild thunder shock, sending bolts zipping in every direction. It would try to copy Tetsu's iron defense by puffing up its wool and looking serious, only to trip over its own feet. Kizuna was initially terrified of its chaotic aura, but soon found that Denki's simple, joyful emotions were a cleanse for its own empathic senses. Training Denki was like trying to harness a thunderstorm with a paper cup. But Naruto didn't try to suppress the chaos. He tried to guide it. "Denki!" See that target? Don't just shoot. Make the electricity jump. Like my raisin gun spins. He'd demonstrate with a pebble, using a tiny wisp of wind chakra to make it curve in midair. Denki, head tilted, would then unleash a thunder shock that, instead of a straight line, would fork and zigzag unpredictably, striking the target from an unexpected angle. It was unorthodox, unstable, and brilliant. The calm of Slateport was a bomb, but Naruto knew it couldn't last. Chairman Stone's warning about the private projects lingered, and the memory of the Garrido's pain was a shadow on his heart. He had seen the pinnacle of corrupted power and the pinnacle of healing grace. His own path felt small in comparison. As they prepared to leave for the arid Route 113 and the looming challenge of Mauville City's electric-type gym, Naruto took one last walk on the beach at dusk. Denki bounced beside him, Kun walked steadfastly ahead, Tetsu clanked along leaving deep prints, and Kazuna floated serenely. He had built a team. Not a perfect one, not a balanced one by conventional standards, but a family. A family of outcasts, survivors, and broken things made whole through shared belief. He looked at the darkening ocean, thinking of the melodic song. His fight wasn't just for badges anymore. It was a counter-melody. A defiant, hopeful tune against the world's growing dissonance. The calm was over. The storm of his journey was turning inland, towards cities of lightning and mountains of fire. And he would face it with a spark of chaos, a shield of iron, a whisper of the mind, and a heart of fire.